Hello and welcome to Now We're Talking. This is Daniel Purcell coming to you from the downtown Clarksville Square in the Now Network News studio. Now We're Talking. Today we're sitting down with some of the cast of the upcoming show at Habersham Community Theatre, Matilda. Today we're joined by Clark Ivey, Julianna Weyrich, Lilly Kate Farrar, and Chris Parker. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are super excited to talk to you and talk about the show. Chris is the director of the show. And Chris, give us just kind of like an overview. What is the show about? Who should go see it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a really family-friendly show. Great for kids. It's got some moments that can be equated to any type of Disney animated movie of darkness. Nothing too dark. Couple characters that can be intimidating to little kids, but overall it's a great family story. It's a story about, love and compassion and kindness and treating your inner self with the utmost respect and learning to, stand up for yourself in many ways, which is a really helpful topic for kids nowadays. So to be doing a show here that can kind of translate to regular days and lives of our young ones in the community is really helpful, and I think is going to be really entertaining.
That sounds amazing. I know that I'm super excited for the show. Everybody in this room is super excited because you're in the show. Let's go around. Clark, who do you play in this show?
Well, I get the delight of being my boy, Mr. Wormwood, who is the dad of Matilda, and he's one of the dumbest people in the play. He thinks he's a genius, which gives him the ego and the big, salesman, presence that he has. And so he basically thinks Matilda is an idiot because she reads books, and he watches the television, which is where he thinks he gets his supposed knowledge from.
We have a lot of people like that these days.
Oh, I'm one of them.
Yeah, binge watching is it's what people do for fun, and they're not shy to talk about it. So it's really an interesting kind of juxtaposition for, what his argument is for Matilda's, weakness, when we all know from the audience perspective, she's not anything but weak.
Let me make sure I got this right. In the original movie, Danny DeVito played Mr. Wormwood. Do you have the Danny DeVito energy?
I hope I do, because I really like Danny DeVito in that. He also directed the movie. So,
oh, wow.
So he was the one telling himself how to play Mr. Wormwood. So that's how he thought he should be, which is, again, the way he says it in the movie, I'm big, you're small, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm smart, you're dumb. It's just that's not an argument. That's just something you make up to make yourself seem bigger. But that's just his whole character. He thinks he's right and that you're wrong just because he is him.
And you're channeling some of that.
Yeah. I mean, DeVito, he's just making big faces all the time, just making himself look like the biggest idiot, which is the point of these villainous type characters. Wormwood's not even the biggest villain, and yet he is just, I guess, a secondary antagonist because of the way he pushes down Matilda or makes her seem just kind of worthless to an extent. And yet she still perseveres and gets better.
Right.
And she can still get better, which is encouraging kids. You can still get better, even if you're facing this. Obviously not what Wormwood does, but...
Right, and it's a great point to bring up. He fights with his ego. That's his horrible side, and it's really hard to crack Wormwood's ego.
Yeah.
And so for him to have that relationship with Matilda to where he's putting her down, it's his own insecurities of knowing that he's produced this amazing child. I mean, we should mention you have another child in the show besides Matilda.
My prized possession as a father is my son Michael, who very loudly displays that he is anything but intelligent, usually just standing there with his mouth open saying the last thing I said. Exactly. And I cheer him on he's just I'm like his little cheerleader.
He's like your mini.
Yeah, he does what I tell him to do. Watch the television, agree with everything I say, and just kind of follow along, and not have his own mind, which he clearly doesn't. If you ever look at Ian's eyes during the show,
it's just that blank gaze.
Yeah. Going down the row, we've got Julianna. Tell us who you play.
I play Mrs. Wormwood.
My dear wife.
I am his better half, better looking,
okay.
A little bit blonder. Mrs. Wormwood is just about as great as Mr. Wormwood in terms of how she treats Matilda. She's confused why she's so obsessed with books. She's really only concerned with her looks and, the things that maybe a stereotypical girl would be obsessed with, like my nails got to be done, my hair needs to look right. and it's very superficial. And that's kind of what she struggles with the whole show, is like, you have to look your best at what you know doesn't matter. It's only how you look, and being as loud as you can with what you're saying, because the louder the opinion, the more right you are.
Yeah, and that's so funny because Mrs. Wormwood has always reminded me of statements that Dolly Parton makes. She's like, it takes a lot to look like this. And she's like, I leaned into what the fans and the people out there thought of me, which as like the town hooker, she says. And so Mrs. Wormwood is kind of like made up, and it's very superficial, but it's like she's proud and she owns it.
Yeah, it's really... At one of the rehearsals, we talked about how this is almost a caricature of a show.
Yes.
And that really helped me lean into like the ridiculousness of what I'm doing on stage, because I have a few moments that are just maybe not something I would do in my everyday life, but I'm able to be like, no, this is a caricature of a person, and the bigger it is, the better it's going to play, because she is just so ridiculous in how she presents herself and the way that she presents her arguments.
Exactly.
Sounds like a very fun character to play.
It's great. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, the Wormwoods are one of the better characters in the show as far as the comedic side of things, because the show has some ups and downs. It's like a little roller coaster.
I love it. Ready to take the ride. We met the Wormwoods. Let's go to Lilly Kate. What's your role? Who are you?
Hey, so I'm the female understudy and in the ensemble. So I'm kind of like here to help the craziness happen. I have 6 costumes that I change within both acts. And so I am helping bring Matilda's imagination to life, because you do have these superficial characters all around her. And Matilda is the one who is speaking the loudest past just the surface level, because she's reading books, she's diving into the knowledge. And she really wants people in the audience to become a kid again and to have that sense of imagination. So every story you see on stage, given by the ensemble and the characters and people like me, helps create that childlike sense of wonder no matter where people are in their life. And that's super special to me.
Yeah, and like people, like the fact that you said that, like Matilda's message is stop listening to all this outside noise. And it's a message that we all need to listen to nowadays, is listen to what I'm saying, because I know what I'm talking about. Even though she's a little girl, she knows what she's talking about. And Lilly Kate's right in saying that, there's a lot of us in the show that are just these characters and these caricatures, and Matilda's the one constant steady that keeps the show on its tracks.
So real. And I don't want to pass this by, because I feel like this is an important topic to talk about while we're still talking with Lilly Kate. You said you're both the understudy, but also in the ensemble. And when I think of ensemble, I'm like, oh, I'm just in the background. I'm an extra. I'm the people that don't get noticed. But because you are in the ensemble and there are so many other people, can you tell us the importance of not just like being a named character, but being a part of that entire cast? Like, why is the ensemble so crucial to this show?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I will rant about this until the day I die. So the most important part about being in the ensemble is because you are the people that are creating the imagery that goes along with what the main characters are saying. Without the main characters having the ensemble, there is no background story and no visuals for the audience to follow along with. Just like a community, it does not take one person to build a community up. It takes multiple, and that is why we are a community theater.
Ooh, that was a
all around.
fantastic answer.
Love it. I'll hit the applause button.
Yeah.
over here.
Ensemble, in my mind, is one of the more important characters in any play. I don't think I've been a titled character in many musicals, and I've always loved being ensemble, because you are so much a part of that story building that Lilly Kate talked about, where you have to really transform almost every scene. You're something different, and you're really stretching yourself to be those different characters every time you go out on stage, but also making sure that you're in character while the focus is still on the main thing, while also making sure that you're helping build the picture of the show as a whole.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of pressure to be a member of the ensemble, which for Matilda is critically important, because the ensemble is in 80% of the show. I mean, there are very few one-on-one scenes in the show. It's a lot of collaborative things. But, but when you're a named character or a principal character, as they say, you have the pressure of keeping the audience engaged in that one character from the beginning to the end. Whereas with the ensemble, they're constantly having to change who they are and then go back out on stage, even though it may just be a costume change, they could be playing a completely different age character, everything from A to Z, and they've got to think about that. So I loved my time in the ensemble. I still do ensemble work nowadays, but it's the best training ground for anybody who loves to do theater, whether it's school theater, community, professional, whatever you want. You've got to learn how to be a member of the ensemble.
No small parts, just small actors.
Absolutely.
And speaking on the side of changing completely who you are, Chris, who do you have the opportunity to play in this show?
Yes, well, my original hat was only supposed to be accepting and playing the role of Miss Trunchbull, who, to clarify for our audience that knows Matilda, is played by a man in the musical. And it was originally discussed actually back when Danny DeVito and his wife, Rhea Perlman, acquired the rights. They were going back and forth with if they wanted to cast a man as Trunchbull. It was the non-musical version. However, it was the early 90s, and so it was not the time for them to push that in Hollywood, and so they decided to just cast a manly-ish looking woman in the role. Well, when it came time, 20 years later to do the musical, the entire creative team and the guy who wrote the show, Tim Minchin, he completely said, I'm writing this for a man. It will be in the key for a man to sing. If a woman chooses to play the role, they're going to have to make adjustments. So it's like putting a man in to play the role of Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly, to do it the reverse way in this show. So that's the reason. Plus, I get it now that I've read it and I'm living in this character. It's an imposing character, and you really need to set that difference between the size of the kids and the size of the actor. And so I think we've accomplished that. Now, what added to my challenge is we had an unforeseen circumstance where our director had to step away for personal reasons, and I stepped up to become director. So now I would never cast myself in a show if I were directing it. Never. It's too much work. It's hard for me to give my 100%. Which is why I feel like we're ahead. We're starting tonight. We don't open till the 16th, but we're starting tonight really putting the show together and running the acts. So we're ahead of the game. That will give me time to settle into leaving the role of director and stepping into the role of Trunchbull, which is very important because the audience deserves the best character they could be. So Trunchbull is the school mistress. She is an athletic person, part of the Olympics, as you will find. I won't tell you what sport, but they divulge that in the show. And she's just mean and hateful and has done some horrible things to her family over the years that unravels in the show, and horrible things to these little kids who are just going to school to learn. And it really, the journey of Trunchbull from what we know of her as being this stern, stiff, almost to the verge of violent, school mistress, to this like subservient character by the end of the show, which I won't give away too much to, but things come out about Trunchbull and she gets her due. And so it's a lot of fun. There's a good arc there. I've got 2 great numbers that I get to do with the kids, and I'm enjoying it. And it's not as big of a role that takes me away from being able to focus on my directing duties.
I think we all agree, all the cast here at the table can say that while you are doing an incredible job as being Mrs. Trunchbull, you are also doing an incredible job as stepping into that role a little late in the game, but to be a director and a great one with these little kids.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
The little kids are a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a tough show. We think of kid shows, we think of Annie and Oliver as our classical ones, and yeah, they're big kid shows. This is a huge kid show. These kids are on stage 80 to 90% of the show, and they get very little breaks, and they have a lot of energy, and I'm trying to get them used to that, building up to that stamina of getting through an entire show in a night, and then bringing that energy back the next day. And they're just doing an exceptional job. They've been working on the music hard, and they've been working now on staging and choreography hard, and you guys, you have to admit, they've got some of the hardest numbers in the show.
They are
I agree.
Crushing it. And for it to be some of their first show, or like a lot of them don't have a ton of theater experience. They're super young, and they, could outrun me in a show, I think, by the end of this, because they are just so talented and so dedicated to what they're doing. I love watching their numbers because I just get blown away every single time. It's my favorite part of rehearsals is watching them practice and do their thing.
Yeah, I'm seeing it come to life, and that's, as a director, you see things in your head and you have this creative vision of what you want the scene to look like. And when you stage it, there's always a letdown because you have to give other people time to absorb your vision and let them do it on their own terms. And these kids are doing that quickly, and they're catching on. And even when I have to make changes, they're able to adapt and move forward pretty quickly. And I just keep reminding them, guys, you guys have to work hard. This is a show that you're heavily involved in, and they're up to the challenge.
I want to ask you a deep question that I've always wanted to ask a director. Theater is imagination. We have to, as an audience member, sit there in our chair and realize this is not something that is real, but that suspension of disbelief that occurs when you walk through the doors. And it's like, okay, for the next hour and a half, 2 hours, this is reality. I'm seeing this. I can believe that Peter Pan can fly, that crocodiles are real, even if it's a guy in a suit. How do you lean into that with both a director side of things of like seeing it as reality and fiction kind of molding together, but also really leaning into it for these kids and the people that have never done theater? Yeah,
you have to, you really, when you're looking at a show like Matilda, which is almost a fever dream of Matilda, I don't like to use that term because she's not going through something where she's dreaming and having a nightmare. It's her imagination, as Lilly Kate mentioned. And so what you have is you have these moments where it almost kind of is a page on a book that she's reading that jumps out. And, she does tell a story throughout that kind of is a subplot as we go along and kind of leads us through. And it really shows you her imagination. And so that's really helpful. The way that the book and the script is written is really helpful for me to be able to engage in that. But to further answer your question is you've got to understand from a director that you will always have skeptics in the audience that are always going to criticize every little thing. And then you're going to have people that are there just to be entertained. And that's what we're aiming for. Theater is what we love to do. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. And people that come to the theater wouldn't come to the theater if they didn't want to, and so when you show up, there's an expectation of etiquette, but there's also an expectation that we're going to entertain you. And so that's the goal of this show, is entertainment. Everyone's going to take away things differently. I say to the kids every night, the last thing these people are going to walk out of this theater humming is Revolting Children, because it's the 11 o'clock number and they're going to remember it. So between that and When I Grow Up, there's a lot that the audience will take away. And that's what makes a memorable show to me, is if I can walk out of the theater and I'm still playing the music in my head. That means that it really captivated me. This is definitely one of those shows that people are going to remember, and that they need to see, because you can't remember something if you've never seen it. And if you've watched the Netflix movie, like I'm not. I mean, I love Netflix and chill. I love it, but they just rushed the Matilda musical movie and they didn't really think it through, and so it became kind of a little bit extra compared to the show. The show is really tender and nice, and it has a good message, and I think a lot of that gets lost in translation in the Netflix version. So don't let that be your judge for this show. We also learned that you can't learn everything from the telly. No?
No, you cannot.
You cannot, even though you can learn a lot from the telly. You can learn a lot from watching TV, but there's something about diving into the source material where it's at. Yeah. A theatrical show is a book that is coming to life. TV is too, but we see it go through all of this post-production, and there's ads, and nobody pays for ads anymore. So there's nothing like going to see something in the theater. Don't even have to pay an ad. There's one thing that pops up right in the middle, and that's intermission, and then there's candy and snacks. Absolutely. And there shouldn't be a need for you to push the pause button on your remote in our show, because, if you're pushing the pause button, I know you have to use the bathroom, but do you really have to use the bathroom? Probably it's a good time for you to pause and go get a snack. In our show, you're going to be engaged until we give you the pause. And that's what's important about theater is, we're there to entertain you and get you away from the reality of life for a night. Have some fun, enjoy the performances, and, make it worth your while, and walk away from it and tell people, what you thought. You give us the pause, we'll give you the applause. Yeah, absolutely. So good. Yeah. So this show is selling out very quickly. Very quickly. To the extent of, let me make sure I've got this right. You guys open on July the 16th, and then a traditional show at HCT has 2 weekends. Correct. Going Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon for that matinee performance. Yes. This show, I'm looking on the schedule here that you gave me, and you've also got a third weekend where it's Saturday matinees and then a Sunday matinee. Right. We have, we're doing 12 shows total total. So we're adding a Wednesday to each of our regular weekends, going Wednesday through Sunday, regular schedule, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 7:30, Sunday at 2. And then the last weekend is just August 2nd and 3rd. We're doing just the 2 o'clock on Saturday and 2 o'clock on Sunday. We've got kids going back to school that week, and we will have the show open and running by the time they start school back, but we want to make sure that they're not overwhelmed having to do the show and start school back. So just a couple matinees on the weekend between the start of school.
A few more opportunities to see it.
Yeah,
kids
absolutely.
go to school, share with their friends. I want to go see this.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's not much talk or ability. I don't know if we could add another show. There's some logistics with the licensing of the show to how many you can do. So that's something that I leave up to HCT to discuss. And if they decide that they and the cast want to do an additional show, then we'll make sure we advertise that. But as of right now, we're just doing the shows listed, the 12 shows, and they're selling quick.
I love it. They're selling quick, but while we still have time, how do we get tickets?
You can go to HCT's website, www.habershamcommunitytheatre.com. Right there on the website is a link to tickets. You click on the Matilda poster or image. It'll take you to the ticket website. It'll give you a seat map of the theater. You can pick your seats, pay for them right online, and then you just come in and you'll have either a scan code or something on your phone that you can show to the box office upon entry. And it's as easy as that. It's a ticketless system. It's just you and your people.
I love it. Say if my people can't sit together, should that deter us from the show?
No. We are a small theater. If you've never been into HCT, we seat about 110 regular auditorium, comfy seats with a slanted audience toward the stage. But anywhere you sit in that audience. As a matter of fact, as a director, I like to sit in the very back corner because it gives me that full bird's eye view. So if I were to tell you where to sit, it'd be that back corner, but a lot of people like to sit in the center section in the middle. It doesn't matter for the show. You're going to see the whole thing.
The best seat in the house is the one that you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to come see the show. We just learned how. Before we conclude, I want to go around the table one more time because one of the fun parts about this show that I've heard is that everyone gets to talk in a British accent. And so there's different things that are being said in the show, some wild, some very true to heart, and some just very out there. And so I just want to go around the table real quick and get a little taste of this British accent. That way I get something to amp me up to come see this show. So we'll start with Clark. Just say one line or something funny in this accent that you have.
He says plenty of things, and Wormwood particularly just sounds annoying all the time. Where the moment he comes on the show, where's my son? And he's smoking a cigarette. And I think it's the doctor character. Mr. Wormwood, are you smoking? I'm like, oh, yes, sorry, doctor, what am I thinking? Let's pause for a proper smoke.
I love it. Thank you, Mr. Wormwood. Going to Mrs. Wormwood.
So I am originally from East Tennessee, so this has been maybe my biggest struggle.
Southern British.
The Southern really likes to come out. And that's just not what this show calls for. So we're going to get there by opening. I'm still working on it. One of my favorite lines is, am I fat?
Yes, she's gonna get it. She's got it. She just needs
to. It needs a little tweaking. We're close.
But British does slide into Southern. I mean, we are a colony of England,
they're
we both drink tea. It's a match made in heaven.
Yes,
they're close cousins, and it's real. That line is fine.
Yes,
I love it. Awesome, Lilly Kate.
So ensemble, I get to use multiple different accents. There's a Russian one. I'm not doing that right now because I'm still working on it. But I get to play a school child, so that would sound something like, we are revolting children living in revolting times, because it's very nasally because I'm 19, so I can't sound like a child naturally. But then I get to also play a mom, which is not really close to my age either, but the magic of acting, right? So that's more like, she is clearly more emotionally developed than her peers, and it's super fun. So I get to use a lot of different voices.
Lovely. That's so cool. And then Chris, end us off with something powerful.
Oh, Trunchbull. Well, Trunchbull has a unique accent that I'm still kind of placing, but she calls, I'll say what she says to Miss Honey. She says, Miss Honey, what is the school motto? Baminatum est magitum. Children are maggots. Yeah, so that's your Trunchbull kind of, how she speaks, and there's certain levels and things, but, we're getting there. This is the time when we really just let the audience know some backstage insight. This is the time when the character development is really starting to emerge. And I love it because we have a lot of the kids' parents that'll sit in the audience for rehearsals with there, and they're just like, oh my gosh, it's so cool to see how like it's like, and I'm like, this is why people need to realize live theater, we don't just meet the day before the show opens. I mean, we've been working on this since April, and so it's a lot to put together. So to get to this point and see where we are, like it does my heart well, and I think the community is going to really love it.
We cannot wait. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been an honor and a privilege to sit down with you today, have this discussion about the upcoming show. Now we're talking, apparently in British accents.